Welcome to the Golf Coach Podcast. How you going, Colin?
Good, man. Things are great. It's just been a whirlwind after COVID. Golf is growing, and it's still staying there. So it's a good thing.
It is, isn't it? COVID really brought a lot of golfers to the game, didn't it? And it brought a different, boom,
huge.
And it's like what we're talking before about the podcast, right? Is that golf is an addictive sport. So it's not like some certain things that COVID took us to. And then we just kind of left that behind because now COVID's over or whatever we want to call it. It's now that people have gotten that bug and they've stayed on it, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about, parasites.
Parasite, yes.
Before.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it's like. It's like you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it's a golf bug is incurable. It really is. And then when I talked about this in my story today is the inevitable anger someone will get if they don't understand something. It's like that loading thing that you have on your phone, just that loading, any computer, anything, it just keeps loading. And then all of a sudden that loading thing just explodes. And they have like 2 or 3 holes that they blow up because they thought they did something wrong on a lie. When the ball was just above their feet, then they try and fix everything else. And they're like, oh, I just did that. But they weren't aware of it because they don't either have the education or the experience. So
yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. And it's quite interesting because I think when we look at the golfers, there is no generic golfer now. You've got there is so many different types of golfers. Back in the day,
different styles,
old school.
Yeah.
We've got different personality types. People that are coming in who might be bikies, ex-NRL players, like footballers. We're getting such a big different type of golfers coming into the game, aren't we?
Yeah, COVID. Yeah. It's the only thing to do. You can be 6 feet apart and be like, hey, I'm not going to get anything.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part about it. And now people have the bug and everybody wants to play. And then the people that already had that, that nostalgic, I would call it an addiction.
Yeah.
Or even a connection is probably a better word.
Yeah.
They're more frustrated because they're like, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
And it's a bit crowded now. I will say that it's a bit crowded, but it's better than having courses close. It's better than having pros lose their jobs, which is worse. So we win some, lose some.
And I guess as well, what we could say there is they caught the COVID bug, but they caught the golf bug too, right? So the golf bugs had played now. And so whereabouts do you coach out of, Colin? I'm seeing you moved a couple of years ago, was it? Whereabouts are you coaching?
I'm in Atlanta right now, but I also travel to some of my students. Some are in California, some are in. I don't show a lot on social media sometimes because they're like, I want to be, anonymity. I'm like, I get that. So they're just like CEOs or. So I try to keep it on the DL, and sometimes I go up back home, and some of my people. I coach up in Massachusetts sometimes. As far as New York, dude, I have 7 or 8 students in Australia.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's Skillist and just FaceTime.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's the same. Very similar to me. I only have a one location that I do coach out of. I used to coach out of a lot of locations, like chasing people around if it's on tournament golfers or whatever. But I've got kids now, so if people want to come hang out, they've got to come see me. So I like to stay put.
Kids now, huh?
Yeah, I know, it's cool. I've got 2, one more coming. So we're actually just after this call, I'm booked in to go to the car dealership. I'm going to go look at it. We're looking at a 7-seater car, Colin. So
you're getting an upgrade, Dad.
Mum is. She's getting the upgrade. But lucky enough these days we can sort that out. But through other aspects of the business. But so in Atlanta, what's the golf course you coach out of?
I go at pretty much I'm at a Northcrest driving range. It's a driving range. It's double decker.
Yeah.
And I like the freedom. I pay rent. I don't have to deal with being behind the counter. I don't have to deal with an owner. I don't have to deal with. It's just independent contractor. So there are some battles when it comes to owners and members versus there are some battles when it comes to being just a freelance. So it's give and take. The rent might be cheaper, but you're going to have more of an outpush and outreach for more people to say, hey, I want a lesson from this guy. I see him around our golf course versus random people that show up at the driving range. So there's a give and take with both.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have myself personally, a bit of a free kind of not free contract, I'm not going to say but I can do what I want. Like if I go away,
That's great.
we go away for 2 months of the year to Bali, so we can just go away and,
Wow.
I have a minimum hours that they like me to be there, but they're pretty flexible with it as well. All right, so let's get into some stuff, right? So people have seen the head topic of this, right, on the headline, and about a few topic areas we're going to talk about. One of the ones I want to talk about, I think, with you, and you can educate us on, is that can you run us through like some of the, I'm going to say, the personal injuries that you've got, like particularly to your back? I know it's a pretty long list, as long as my arm.
It's such a long list.
But then what I want to dive into is, and what I was talking to my friend this morning, Tony Ruggiero, who coaches, lots of tour players as well, is that what I like coaching about the elite golfer is you can find out how they might have made that funky move work and make a lot of money, right? So that's what I like to do. I like to learn, like, how does Justin Thomas play with such little hand depth? How does Lucas Glover play so well with little chest rotation? So what I want to know is the battles you're going through physically, right, and still going through, and what adjustments you've made to your golf swing to kind of make it work.
So it all started when I was 17.
Yeah.
I landed on my shoulder snowboarding, and I had a labrum tear. So they did a reconstruction in 2016. I kind of waited too long for it. So they had to really make sure that the ligament was really in there. They cut it and then put it back. So when you put it back, it's shorter, obviously. So when I put both my hands up above my head, my left hand doesn't go as high as my right. Yeah. So one arm is shorter than the other, just above my shoulders, though.
Yeah.
So any kind of pitch, chip, I'm very accurate with still. But when it comes to any bigger swing, let's say above 10 o'clock and going on, I have to make compensations. I have to tilt my shoulders. Like I'm almost hitting a driver. When I hit a driver, I have to tilt my shoulders more, and that puts more pressure on my back.
Okay.
So it's a very different scenario. Otherwise, I hook it.
Yes. Okay.
And I also have I had back surgery.
Yes.
And at TLIF, same thing as Tiger did. It's the fusion.
Yep.
So it's a challenge. I've been going through some stuff the past few months, as we just talked about before this, and it's. I'm trying not to make it a grind. Let's just put it that way, in a more positive state. I found a team that's going to help me get stronger in the coming year, because I have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Yep. A lot of cool stuff coming up, and I'm gonna be sharing a lot more of what I do, because I wasn't sure that what I've been doing with golf body type, I wasn't 100% sure it was what's the term? Not successful, but valuable.
Yeah.
Because it has success, but what value can it bring someone who can't move in a certain direction? So I was like, okay, we've got this guy now. I'm learning something different. We're a student. Every person, if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, every single person of the game is a student of golf.
Yeah.
Everybody, regardless of how much you may know and how much you want to know. So but yeah, just the shoulder and the back has caused so many other things, tears. I mean, I have a compressed C6 in my neck, so that causes shoulder issues. I did a lot of extreme sports, so I'm extremely paying for it in layman's terms.
A little bit of kind of, off topic is that I got some friends who have been going through some, injuries from, playing professional sports and football, and they've been battling with it mentally because they've been, not being physically being able to move the way they want to move and being frustrated, but B, the ongoing pain. It's like just being in a car crash for 6 months straight. How have you been coping with it mentally? Been challenging?
When I had the snowboarding accident, I really didn't know who I was. I had exemptions. I had sponsors for a long drive, because I was swinging 138 at that time.
Oh, wow.
On average. So I could go over 140. I could be cruise at like 135, and I was 17.
Wow.
My club head came all the way to here. I mean, it was like 45 degrees past parallel. So
Yeah.
maybe actually more like 50. I got to about 51, 52.
Yeah.
And my arms are they were double jointed. So it was just,
Lots of mobility. Yep.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Jamie Sadlowski,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of move. And after the accident, like I said, I didn't know who I was. I just floated kind of and chased women and
Yeah.
just didn't, I was in the golf business, but I wasn't in the golf business. I wasn't like, I wasn't 100% in it. I was just kind of like, okay, who am I? I want to figure out what I want to do. And amongst me doing all the different jobs that I had, I mean, I worked at Walmart, I was a personal trainer. I mean, I had the most random jobs. But what I learned is how to help people understand things
Yep.
because of the little things that I did. So I use a lot of analogies. I use a lot of life situations to go, okay, well, maybe I could reword it for you this way. And it made me a good coach. So like now I kind of know my purpose. I could care less if I hit a poor shot where I really don't want it to go. Like say like left of the green. I don't want it to go there, but that's just what happens when you have compensations you forget to make.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it's all a memory
Yep.
based upon what you understand about your body.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it would be challenging. It'd be extremely challenging. But it's one as well as like when a lot of us are seeking advice in any aspects of our life, we genuinely like to hear from someone who's been through it as well. If you know what I mean. So like when we hear someone who's been through the type of situation that we're going through, it's kind of like some of these business coaches that don't own businesses. It's like, I want to talk to a guy who owns businesses, or if I need some help with, some rehabbing, I'm like, hang on, you've had this before. Talk to me. Let me learn from this,
Physical therapy. I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many physical therapy sessions I've had with all the injuries I've had, how many times I've signed up for physical therapy and chiropractors and what to do and what you shouldn't do. And I mean, if anybody out there is having back issues, get an MRI.
Yeah.
You just get an MRI. If you're really, really having pain and you're having pain down your leg, don't have some doctor go, I believe it's this, and this is what this is. No, get information, get a visual. So
Evidence.
you're like, okay, I know exactly evidence, feedback, right? From us coaches, feedback.
Yeah.
But it's just so important.
All right.
It really is.
That's so. When you threw the term in there, golf body type, this coaching, is this something that have you learned this, or did you put this together yourself, or was this something studied, or?
It's just from personal training.
Yep.
It's just understanding what anatomy does and what physics does, and what your body can do and what your body kind of can't do.
Yep.
Well, let's say, for instance, someone with really short arms, right? They're not going to have a lot of depth.
Yep.
They're just not.
Yep.
So they're going to have quick hands. Like look at Terrell Hatton. Okay.
Yep.
He doesn't have crazy long arms. He's also complains about being stiff all the time.
Yeah.
And he's always frustrated all the time. He's always slamming clubs because his body is really tight and he's got a lot of tension in his body. Sometimes it's very natural, whether it's just based on your heritage, your genetics, your culture. And then sometimes you have a longer arm, you have longer legs, you're taller, you're over 5'8" to 5'10". If you're in that realm, it affects the golf swing tremendously. Like, I mean, take it this way. If you had someone that's 6'5", short arms, big guy.
Yes.
What you gonna do? Like, you got to get him to lower, or you got to lengthen the club.
Yeah.
One of the two options.
Yeah. No.
And if you do that, then if you lengthen the club, what happens to the head? It gets too heavy at that point, and then he's got to be really strong. And if he's not, there are variables that I invite all variables because that's what the screening process does. It just says, okay, if you have long arms, you have a longer bicep head, you have different flexible movements and manners, and then I add in the length of the club, I add in, okay, you can go this length, but if you do that, you got to decrease the head weight. There's specific variables.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't lengthen the club, then you got to get really low. So you got to do these exercises. There are so many variables to get the person to manage.
Yeah.
That's it. They just manage to be close as they can to what a baseline would be for golf. Maybe what we call perfect, but nobody is.
Yeah.
I know I'm not. So
yeah, I understand that. So tell me, can you give me a case study of when in a student of yours, say when someone was trying to do X, talk about hand depth, right? So butt of the club at top of the backswing at P4 in line with the heel line. Tell me a scenario when someone, let's use that for an example. Say someone is looking to try and get their lead arm in line with their shoulder plane at top of the backswing, having the butt of the club going down to the right ankle when looking from behind, giving us the ideal, I guess, baseline of hand depth. What scenario wouldn't be able to achieve that?
Well, it's achievable with anyone if they can use their diaphragm well.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people don't realize is they are flexible. They're very flexible. However, the muscle isn't woken up. It's very dormant and stiff or tight from an office job. What we're doing right now, sitting for 8 hours a day, taking a break, which some people don't take breaks. So your body just goes. So getting their club in that position can be very difficult for people who are tighter. So I kind of diagnose that too. I'd be like, okay, move a certain way, this way. Now, how long is your arm? Can you get your arm to your hip bone? Can you get it to your pelvis? Because think about it, right? If we have a long bicep head, it's easier to get to let's just say he has a short torso, okay? Not much room, but he still can get it there so his hands can still turn over. But what if someone has a long torso and then a long bicep head? Tiger, Nelly, all the people that are really, really built well to move well. Tiger doesn't do that much. He just goes this way and that way.
Yeah.
This way. He doesn't do that much. You're like, oh, it's so effortless. Well, look at his body, the way it's built. Long bicep head, decently long torso. His arms are long enough. His elbow meets almost right with his hip bone. So that movement that he's making in the rib cage is not much effort for him.
Yeah.
But say you have a short torso, really short bicep head, and a guy that's big and big chest and big trapped. That's really difficult. So then they have to shallow the club a little more on purpose, swing more into out, get their butt to go left, get that coiling to happen, and really do it more exaggerated to feel something in their muscle structure. It's so interesting.
Yeah, so when you, just to kind of, I've got a few follow-ons there, but one is that, so when people are listening, when Colin's talking about kind of working at the desk, people sitting down, or people listening to the podcast know that my whole training in the gym is just based around doing the opposite to what I do in a daily life to try and help me strengthen that way. But when you're talking about the diaphragm there, to get that, our shoulders are rolled in because your hands are out in front and we get internally rotated
Flexion,
shoulders.
yeah.
We get a lot of flexion through the top of the thoracic muscle. Thoracic part of the spine. Now, tell me, when you're talking about the diaphragm there and to achieve, what I mentioned there about getting the butt of the club there on the right ankle, top of the backswing, lead arm across the shoulder, and you're talking about the diaphragm opening up, you're just talking about as well, if we refer the reference to the back, you're talking about the thoracic extending as well, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. So that is challenging to do if you're someone who is in a real curved position.
Curved. Yeah. Like double barrel almost.
Yeah. And then people look at that, right? And when people want to if you're into the gym and you're trying to get a good looking chest, think the opposite. Don't keep pumping chest because your titties are going to get down. Pull your shoulders back.
That's the posterior chain. Yeah. The posterior chain's right here. So if you have a lot of strength, like say you're a linebacker, okay, you push all day long. Yeah. Push all day long. You have a lot of pec major. Yeah. Most likely your pec minor is weak. Yeah. Most likely. Yeah. Because they don't know how to control the club on a takeaway and on a finish because it goes down and pushes posterior chain instead of anterior and inflection. Yeah. And
I get that. So, all right. So then what I would encourage in a situation for me as a coach, just kind of talking about that situation there, is I would potentially look at pivot exercises or some work around externally rotating shoulders and then talk to them about their breath to try and help them achieve that depth first you would do that as well before you
Yep.
kind of categorize them in regard to they can't move that way, or?
Yeah, I also I'm starting to use it. It's pretty much done. I call it gears. Okay, just like a car has gears.
Yeah.
And gear one is like 7:30 to 4:30. Gear two is 9 to 3. 10:30 to 2:30. And what it's doing is it is giving someone a limit. It's not just a full swing. It's giving
You're
them
talking
a
about
limit
shorter swing.
consciously.
Yeah, shorter swing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shorter swing. What does impact feel like at gear one? What do the feet feel like? What do the hips feel like? What do the shoulders feel like? What does the club feel like? What do your arms feel like? Right here. If they can repeat that, and then I have them go to the finish, what they think that might look like and what feels like, because feel isn't real. I want to get their feel to be more real so it's safe. So then from this position, I take it back this way in gear one, then go back to that position. The ball's just in the way at that point. They're not hitting it or pushing the club anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to help people understand that everybody drives a car to the driving range.
Yeah.
Everybody understands gear. So you can only go a certain mile an hour.
Yeah.
You can't go any harder than that. You got to stay at a pace. You can't hit the gas.
Yep.
And it really helps. It from what I've experienced, it really, really helps them not cast. They get tempo very quickly because what I work with them on is lower half first. What do the feet feel like at impact? What is the knee? What does the hip feel like? What does the shoulder feel like at that position? And positions like P1, P2, P3 are great, but what about a small swing? Not just a full court throw.
Yeah.
But what about a layup?
Yeah.
What does a layup feel like slow?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. So when Colin was using that clock terminology, he's talking about like the length. If you're talking about a golf swing from the face-on camera angle, the clock view there, and I completely agree with what he's saying there. So if you're someone who is trying to find out something about your golf swing or to try and incorporate something new, I think the great analogy is, if I was teaching someone how to shoot a basketball, I'd take them to the free throw line and not to the halfway. And I call the full swing the halfway court, not the 3-point line. The halfway court. I think 3-point line is like P3 to P9. Lead arm level to lead arm, the trail arm level in the follow through. That's like 3-point line, and then half court is like full swing. You're going at it.
Yep.
It's going at it pretty hard, like maxing out. So,
yeah. Because they don't understand, and some believe they can putt with a wedge. Yes, you can get away with it, but do you really want to make a putting stroke with a wedge? If you want to get good spin, if you want to get a good finish, if you want all those variables, it's good for a beginner, but then they get stuck on their left side. They don't know how to counterbalance anything. So it's really important that they understand what this feels like in a small, and what this feels like, and this meaning to all those people listening, what 4:30 to 7:30 to 4:30 might feel like. Or what does even 6 o'clock feel like for a small swing? Like, what is impact? They don't know. Like putting the club in play mode, right? That's just putting it on the ground. It's ready. Yeah. Some of my students, they don't even put the club on the ground. They're scared. Like, just put it on the ground. It's okay. It's funny.
I like that. So yeah, it's a really big emphasis there around helping people. Find out what impact, and especially for that personal player, impact is supposed to be, because I think a lot of people can get caught up in, if you look at a lot of Instagram instruction, or if you look at a lot of YouTube instruction, and people are like, do this, do that, do this, but there's not much identification to help the student find out what impact's supposed to feel like, because that's why we change everything, is to change impact, right?
Specifics and golf, growing golf, doing content, it's amazing. It's just not specific enough for everyone. That's my fear, and I don't create as much content as I'd like to, because I get afraid someone's going to misinterpret it and mess up their swing, and then I feel like it's my fault, so I can't do that to myself. But at the same time, I'm very aware of what I'm posting, so it's kind of well-rounded, and if you don't read the caption, then
Yeah.
just read. Read this, but they don't want to sometimes.
Oh, mate, in the social media space, like I used to be able to post a lot of, clips and tips and online instruction stuff, and I'd upload it. But now these days I look at it and I go, is this really going to help 9 out of 10 people? No, it's not. So I can't post it. And some really cool information where I might sound super wise, super wisdom, it sounds really cool, but I'm like, you know what? That's really not going to benefit enough people.
Put it in your story. Just
yeah,
put it in your story.
But once you genuinely know inside and you're like, hang on, this isn't for the masses, what I just did, it's not really going to help. So yeah, it's becoming, the more, I guess, present I've become, or more knowledgeable as well, the less I'm kind of posting, if that makes sense to me. Like I'm not as reckless.
You're aware of your understanding of your knowledge, and that's what wisdom is, man. You're becoming more wise. It's just wise and aware. Like that's why tour players are so wise when they're on the course, because they're aware of the surroundings. When like a beginner golfer, they don't even know anything.
Yeah.
They're so scared. They don't know anything. And then when they get frustrated so easily, it's because they know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know something, like a young person, they're called a know-it-all, because they know a lot of things, maybe all things. Let's just say they do. But do you understand what you know? If you stick your hand in a trash can, do you know all the things that are in there? You know it's trash.
Yeah.
But do you understand what's going to happen to your hand if you put it in there? You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
So it's kind of interesting to look at a tour player who's very wise, or a coach who's very wise like yourself, and you're understanding, okay, I probably shouldn't do this, so I'm not going to do it because I'm aware of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Versus some coach that's like, I just want attention,
Interesting. Hey, can we get back? I want to ask you a question about the body type thing. I've just forgotten about. You were talking about before. You mentioned two things there. One about the hands down to hip height, and you mentioned Nelly Corder's bicep muscle. Elbow to hip height. Sorry, of course. As I'm holding my elbow out, as I'm holding my hand out past my knees. Tell me. That. Is there a standard body type? And B, can you indulge a little bit more in regards to, you mentioned there about the bicep head with Nelly Corder and Tiger Woods?
So, if you want a very neutral plane, okay, the easiest way to have a neutral plane is to either have arms as long as your height or longer.
Yes.
But if you have arms that are shorter than your height, you've got to do a little bit more of body coiling. You got to do maybe a little bit more lowering. Maybe not. If you're on a shorter side, you don't have to lower that much.
Yeah.
That's why look at Lee Trevino, right? 5'7".
And lowering, sorry, I'll let you keep going. Lowering, what do you mean there for the people listening?
Just lowering the spine angle so that you get depth and you can have control of power versus early extension.
Okay, great.
Which you see a lot of. Getting on your toes, all that stuff. It's no good.
Okay, great.
I was taught to arch my back. Swinging at that speed, it's a mess. My back's a mess, dude.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting once you start looking at certain players and be like, okay, I see a pattern here, and then I see a pattern here. Like Bobby Jones, 5'8".
Yeah.
People think he's like 6'2". No, he was 5'8". He's like this tall.
Yeah.
And you got Hogan. There's arguments about how tall he really was because he's a legend. So people are like, they build him up taller. Yeah. Mo Norman, 5'7".
Yeah.
They're on the spectrum. How tall are you?
Short. 5'7". 5'7".
You don't have to lower that much. You could just go through. You can lower. You know how to.
Yeah.
But imagine if you were 6'4", man.
It's tough. Taller guys definitely got their challenges, especially around the extension. Yeah.
DJ?
Yeah. It's a good point. So tell me, right? So Nelly Corder's and Tiger Woods, what have they got in common? You mentioned before.
Not only they're close to height.
Yes.
Right. Nelly's like 5'11" in shoes. Tiger's like 6'2" in shoes. She's tall.
Yeah, she's tall.
She's very tall for her age too, and they move incredibly well. And
Yep.
they've been playing almost their whole life. Plus, genetically, I mean, look at Nellie's family, man.
Mm.
Like, it's incredible. I mean, tennis player, and it's just very long.
Yep.
And I also find certain cultures, like certain, I would say, places that you're from, like Europeans have a tendency to have more length, more lankiness
Yes.
than say someone in America that they're very we're mutts basically. Americans are just from everywhere,
Yeah. Okay.
and they have certain characteristics of their body form. Australians, they're kind of a mixture, but when you get into like Russian and you get into like
Scandinavians.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
they're so long and symmetrical, and the way they move is so interesting. Figure skating is the same way. I kind of studied that a little bit
Yep.
and tried to go, okay, what makes a person spin, like the way they move and how they balance, and
Yep.
what makes their ankle joint stronger than
Okay.
say a different culture,
Yeah.
different person. It's just so cool, interesting. Don't make me. I go down that rabbit hole. I won't shut up.
That's all
But
right.
it's fun to understand different bodies and what they can and can't do, what they can do later. Currently, meaning can't. Currently.
So yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So tell me about we'd mentioned there the thicker chested guy, right? So the broader chested guy who might be shorter. So generally a lot of thicker guys, shorter guys, thicker guys across the chest, and they got short arms. You're gonna see less depth right top of the backswing.
Yeah, and they get into their trap, posterior chain a bit. They get into their, which means people listening, like tricep, inner forearm.
Yep.
And if you sit at a desk and you type a lot, one shoulder might be higher than the other because you use a mouse. So a lot of these variables from what you do on a daily basis can affect what you do in your golf swing or just your balance in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just your balance.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
So
I agree. So the thicker chested guy, though, to kind of break it down a little bit, for me, I've always found that when coaching guys who are quite broad chested, is that their lead arm, I like it to not get too high, because as they're quite broad and they're raising that lead arm and it's getting quite high, to me it's difficult, gets the shaft up too tall and gets it kicked out too early. So if I've got a guy who's quite thick, I like to keep that lead arm like underneath the shoulder plane a little bit more that way there. Keep that shaft flatter. Would you agree?
Yeah, and then get the arms to kind of lift the club into place instead of getting the cuppy to happen.
Also taking a little bit of radial hinge out of the wrist, so like less hinging of the wrists, more arm lift.
But if your posterior chain really tight, you're going to want to use your thumbs. I see a lot of that.
Yeah, okay.
I see a lot because your thumb is pretty much attached to your posterior chain. So if I go into flexion, the first thing that shows is my thumb.
Yeah.
So that's what they'll push with.
Yeah.
And that's inner tricep trap, and then the idea would be try and use your chest, big guy.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with being big or small. It's learning how to move your body so you can compensate for that. And I've had some very muscly guys like linebackers, and I've managed to get them into a position that's comfortable. That's the only objective for us, is what's comfortable, working with what they have, and giving them some exercises like you do. I do the same thing. I really focus on feet, ankles, knees. I really focus on lower half.
Yep.
And it's something that I'm going to dive into this year more. Is talking about lower half. But the muscular guys, they have to put maybe a little bit more work into it, but they can still hit the ball great. Like I said, look at Terrell Hatton. I mean, he's won a lot on tour.
Competes a lot.
Competes well. I mean,
yeah. So for the guys, if you're listening to this and you are quite broad chested and you've been trying to get that lead arm in a nice position, one thing as well that I've used as a strategy for those types of people is also feel a little open in their chest, in their stance is starting a little open as well, Colin, because if they can't get it the whole way back, right, like chest rotation, they might max out quite early, that lead arm, then you've actually got less time to get down to the ball to get your chest rotated because your arm hasn't risen as much. So I'll have that student feel open like a Trevino that you kind of briefly mentioned there, right? Open a little bit more in the address position just to give themselves that chance to at least get that body more open, and so they're not kind of having to manufacture something through the ball, right?
It gives them more time to make contact. So they're not limited in space too, because and if they have back issues or shoulder issues, you can have the chest open and flare the right foot out. So it gives a little bit more openness in the takeaway, and then have a little bit of openness so the coil can be a little bit easier. But those are minor tweaks for people that have smaller areas that just don't function as well. Like for me, I don't have any internal, but this one's fine. But this one, as far as it goes.
The left one's not coming in.
External is way more important than internal when it comes to shoulder joints. But
so what Colin's talking about there is like someone who has for the recreational golfer listening, is like an over-the-top golf swing. You see that hand path come outward. We'll see that shoulder kind of start looking inward, which we call internally rotated too early. And externally rotated is someone who can kind of get that right pec up looking towards the sky type of look situation. So that's pretty cool. I like all that stuff. So, but what I've noticed though with your coaching in particular what the stuff that you share on social media is, like some of the stuff that you're talking about, I incorporate, I'm going to say, into my coaching, but I noticed that you must be extremely passionate about this because you're quite vocal about it online as well. You know what I mean? Like you're always talking body.
I am for the people. I am like as much for the people. If I could do this for free, I would.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not about like trying to make as much money or as many clients as I possibly can. I try to stay as authentic with my care for every single individual out there. Like you said yourself, I'm very aware of what I'm putting out there. I don't just put out information and try and get that like clickbait. You know, I've been through pain. More than most people have, and I don't ever want anybody to ever go through what I did. That's why, like, being tall and anterior pelvic tilt at address, all that stuff, man, I've been through that. And that's why I'm not damaged goods. I'm still just good. So it's important.
I like that as well, because what you're also doing is like you're sharing information. You're going, this is the information I'm sharing it because of X, Y, Z with this gentleman's body type and his movement. So you're getting the opportunity to kind of share it, and what am I saying? What am I kind of going at there? Is like you're referencing it pretty quickly. Like, this is why we're doing X. You know what I mean? We're doing this because of this, and this is how it looks, kind of situation. So it's kind of, you get that whole case study in there, and you're not misinterpreting anyone.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. When they walk up to me or they shake my hand, I can kind of tell what their sequence already looks like. It's so much fun. So say, for instance, they step with the same hand that they're shake with. They're all right side dominant. They're most likely there to get help with coming over the top because their sequence is off.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Because if they step out with the wrong foot, they're like already in this position.
Yeah.
But if they step out with the left, I'm like, okay, we have some decent sequencing. We have cross crawl pattern. We have little things like that that kind of help us and get an environment of, okay, what's their gait like? Are they walking really far on the outside of their feet? What about inside? Are they prone? I see all that when they kind of walk up to me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to kind of educate a guest and then watch their swing, and they're like, how did you know that about me? And it's like, well, I explained. Then I'd be like, boom, boom, boom. They're like, oh, wow, I did have an injury right here, or this or that.
Yeah.
They're like, I saw your post and you have a ton of injuries. So I was like, okay, well, don't look at my swing because I don't want you doing that.
Yeah. I like that. So, you know what Colin's saying now, I'm very similar. Like, I always constantly reading, right? We're constantly reading. When I'd say to people, like, I explain to people, my wife, if I have a big day of in-person coaching, I'm tired. Looks like I'm just sitting there not doing much, but my head is constantly problem solving. It's just going and going and going and going.
That's our job. Is this
it's tiring.
Current problem solving.
It's a lot more tiring than people think. It's not as, because you're constantly thinking, constantly going. But when you're talking there about, that's a really cool one. And I spoke to Clappy about this a long time ago. In regards to, my first question is, what do you do for work, or what do you spend majority of your time doing? Now, what I mean by that is it's not so much, I don't care what you do for work, but it's more about what position are you putting your body in majority of the time? And that helps me understand. And then I go, okay, what sports are you doing during the week? Or what exercise you're doing and what's your sporting background? They're my three kind of general types, but I like how you read someone. So if they're leading with their right side into a handshake with a right hand handshake, then that's going to be sending everything from top of the backswing over the top, so the whole right hand side of the body's heading out. So you're just like, before they hit a shot, just put your right foot back for me, please, and just get some time. That's really cool. Hey, can you?
It's funny.
Can you?
Like, how'd you know I do that?
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool. I like it. I like it. Well, one thing that, Alex, an example that's just kind of sat with me that I haven't forgotten since he told me was, I'm going to get it a little bit wrong here, but I'm paraphrasing. He was talking about someone who was in the Navy and they had to hold their hand up like this to do a salute all the time. So they're holding their hand up, and what that was doing to their trail shoulder pattern, they couldn't get it externally rotated, right? Because he's just constantly dunk, 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 dunk. And
I find military has a tendency to be very stiff because they do a lot of push-ups and they do a lot of things. They also carry a lot of weight on their back with boots, and it pushes down on their body and flattens their feet, and their feet and ankles don't know. It's a whole...
Yeah.
I've had many. I had a Green Beret. I have several military. And like you said, same thing with you. The PTS thing's a great feature, but I've managed to get people to understand. It's like, one, go see a foot doctor. That's, like I diagnose them because I've been diagnosed a million times with how my arches are crazy high.
Yeah.
But I have them. I recommend go see a foot doctor, see if you have scoliosis first. Yep. So I get all that information and I go, okay, we can manage this.
Yep. I like it. All right. Back to basics putting segment. Right. So this putting segment here, the Back to Basics putting segment, brought to you by one of my sponsors. It's the ProPath putting mirror, Colin. It's one that Grant Field and Richard Woodhouse designed, who coaches Cam Smith, Grant Field. It's got a 15-degree putting arc when you're looking down at it, right? And basically what that arc is 12 degrees and 19 degrees is the average on the PGA Tour putting arc. So we have it cut at 15, helps you kind of see a bird's eye view of how your putter face is opening and how it's moving throughout the putting stroke. But the Back to Basics putting segment, Colin, is that, do you have a putting tip or putting exercise that you like to use regularly, or something that you could share with us in the Back to Basics putting segment?
I would say working on your finish, because most people like what a putting finish versus what a golf swing finish feels like. So putting is a different kind of muscle structure in the core because the hips and the feet aren't open.
Yep.
So what I have my students do is show me what this finish will be like.
Yep.
And their shoulders sometimes roll open. So it's getting that shoulder to actually create some structure, and then the putter head won't flip around. So it's just really feeling what finish should feel like. Obviously your shoulders are tilted. Yep. And then taking it back symmetrical, the same distance, and going back to that exact spot. So the ball is just in the way and you won't poke at it.
It's very interesting.
Really feeling what finish is like here. And it's pretty successful with some of them, everyone's different, but it's just really feeling in your core, staying obviously slightly in extension when you're putting. You don't want to be like, But the idea is, most people's shoulders are too rounded, so then the arc gets rounded. But it's just understanding like what it feels like in here, how different it is than a chip, pitch, short game, bigger swing. It's just feeling what that.
I like it. So when
that finish feels like,
when you got the follow through position there and you can measure it, right? Because the follow through tells us a story of what's happened prior. Is what I'll always say to my students in all. Like when I'm working on a full swing exercise, I'll talk about P9, a certain position that we want to see, arms tilting, structure, all that business. But when you're talking about a follow through position, there is you're looking at the club face angle. Are you trying to see there if it's more open or more closed, or you're trying to anticipate a desired position to be in to try and help, I guess, mitigate what they do prior to that?
Yeah. I mean, think about that, right? If they're opening it through, then they'll notice it right away.
Okay.
And it gives them awareness. It gives them instant feedback, being like, okay, wow, I'm over here. I need to be, because there's most people, they just want to hit the ball and make it go in the hole. But if we focus on a certain kind of mechanic, almost a mechanical, I don't want to call it memory, but a mechanical, let's just call it memory, of what it feels like to get to that end result.
Yeah.
Because what most people do is they think, oh, it's a pendulum, so I'm just going to go, and then they just die.
Interesting.
But actually giving it that purpose, then the club has natural torque.
Mm-hmm.
The shaft has natural torque, however the putter is built, whether it's toe heavy, face balance, torque balance, whatever. I mean, there's all different kinds of putters now.
Yeah.
But if we can manage to go here and here instead of, and then there's like, it's just floating the abyss.
Yes.
We're managing to go, okay, I know what it feels like to be here. I can go, and it gives you a conscious end. What I love about tour players is the ending. The finish is so deliberate.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very few of them ever decelerate, ever, because the finish is so deliberate. It's not like back, forth. It's back, forth, and it's done. The ball explodes, and the torque of the shaft actually goes, okay, let's work together.
Interesting.
We got it.
So you kind of like that little bit
width.
of, you like to see a little bit of a, can I use the term poppy type of stroke? But you don't want to see people decelerate. But there is, when you do strike the putter, right, the ball, when we do crash into the golf ball, the putter does slow down a little though, because it's getting struck, right? So when we drop the pendulum right this way here and we hit the ball, we'll often see a follow through is about, I'm going to say, just for sakes of the segment here, half the length of the backstroke, right? But what you're still saying is getting to there with purpose and not just quitting at the ball.
Yeah, and I try to get my students to understand is like, if we go to 2-to-1 pace, a 2-to-1 distance with a 3-to-1 pace, because 3-to-1 is optimal, we're dealing with triangles.
Yes.
That's all we're really dealing with. Your foot's a triangle, the club is practically a triangle, and the angle of the shaft is a triangle too.
Yeah,
so
I get
if we can manage the pace along with the distance, we'll have a good stroke.
Great. I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
And then sometimes people are concerned, what if I'm into out or out to in? Like, I mean, that's okay. But if you're into out, you better hit the toe of the club.
Okay.
And if you're out to in, you better hit the heel. That's not like I'm going to be like, that's not perfect, because it'll go in.
Yes.
But we want an ideal baseline, of course.
Yeah, cool. Well, I like that. Well, that brings us to the end of the Back to Basics putting segment. Link is below. TM15 gets you 15% off. Support the people that support the podcast. So one thing I want to learn about from you is, I love learning, right? That's why I love these podcasts, is tell me about your social media, right? You've got a big Instagram following, right? And I can see you put a lot of time in. I used to do a lot of your trick shots and all that stuff. I think might be, I don't know where you used to do them, but can you, obviously this is a passion of yours, Instagram, but tell me, like, where did it all start? Why did you do social media and how did you get so good at it?
Accident. So I used to be in a bulletin forum on Facebook with all the golf instructors, and like just for instance like Lynn Blake and just Mike Adams and Adam Young and those guys, Randy Kavanaugh, just random bulletins. They post stuff, so we just post things back and forth, talk about it. Some people would get too childish.
Yes.
So I just avoid that. It's like, whoa, dude, just chill out. There's a lot of ways to do this. It's not just one.
Yeah.
So I would post like cool shots, and they'd be like, oh, do this, this, and this. So it was to the point where I had posted a shot after learning how to play golf left-handed.
Yeah.
And one of my students asked me, do you know what it's like to start over? I was like, no. That's a good point. So I always putt left-handed, but I hadn't played left-handed since I was like that big. So I took 4 months out of my time. First month was hell. It was terrible. I went almost every day, tried to figure out mechanics. Second month, started contacting it, really getting the clubs that I needed, specifically mathematically.
Yep.
And then Third month, I was hitting balls well, got to the course. Fourth month, got the course really well. And then at the end of the fourth month, I managed to break 36. I shot 35 left-handed.
Oh, wow.
And then from that stage, this is at Scarsdale Golf Club. It's just the front nine, which is it has its difficulties. Every course does. But the main objective was to understand how to start over. Mm-hmm. Then I posted a shot where I hit 2 balls at once right-handed and 2 balls at once left-handed. And they both went straight. And then my student calls me from 2 internships ago and goes, hey bro, you're on Golf Gods. He's like a broy dude.
Oh, okay.
Golf. And I was still teaching him. And I was like, I had no idea because I'm in all these bulletins, right?
Yeah.
I had my Instagram linked to my Facebook. So anything that you post goes over there. That was like a picture of a deer in a Prius that said, nice car, said nobody. Yeah. That was all I had. That's all I had.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
So he calls me and he's like, dude, you got like, there's like in 5 hours, I got like 60,000 views or whatever. And then stuff just started going viral. And then Chris Como was like, why don't you take it to a new level, since I did the whole like diving board thing. So I started jumping off chairs and hitting. Just like I managed to do a 360 and hit a golf ball off a tee.
Yeah.
And I think I'm the only one crazy enough to hang upside down and hit a golf ball.
That is crazy. So doing all of this, obviously you're just having a lot of fun with it, right? It was quite.
Yeah.
It was.
My ADHD goes, how can I make this more challenging for myself?
And there's a few guys out there who are doing that stuff at that same time. Like, well, not same time, sorry, but I've seen like hole-in-one trick shots. I think.
Josh Kelly. Yep.
Yeah, Josh Kelly. He does.
Coach Rusty was Ryan Russlin.
Yes.
I mean Garrett Clark.
Yeah.
I mean Garrett used to call me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Oh man, I used to talk to his dad a lot too. But now I'm like, look at him. It's amazing what they've done as a group, as a team. It's amazing.
You just get
incredible.
Yeah, Garrett Clark from Good. So what happens there? You just build an audience, and then you can just leverage it, right? So then, and then you just had this kind of exponential rise on social media, and then you featured in you did Holy Moly, is that right?
Yeah. So they reached out when I had I think it was 20,000. I think I was in Florida, Miami, still doing fun shots, coaching. Because I needed coaching for 22 years. Some people are like, "Oh, he's a trick shot guy." I was like, "No, I'm PGA. I've been doing all of this stuff off that." But trick shots are fun because I'm built well, so my miss is a little bit more accurate than most people's.
Yeah.
I have some funky features, like my bicep head's really long. My arm matches up with my shoulder. It just keeps everything very neutral. But it just turned into this whole, okay, we want you to come do this, this, and this. So I auditioned, and they're like, oh, you got the part. And I was like, okay, what do you mean by part? It was like, you're going to be on a show. You're able to win money. I was like, okay, cool. I just went for fun. I didn't think I was going to win anything.
Yeah.
Because I just go for fun. And then I have a little bit of a competitive edge still in me. Yeah. So I ended up winning my episode, called my episode. And the next year it was 250,000. It's like, what the heck, man? But I'll take the small winnings.
So you won, you holy moly, you say you won your episode. It's like a TV series, right? Of, can I say putt-putt? Is that what it is?
Mini golf, yeah.
Mini golf.
Whatever.
Yeah. And how many episodes were there? Just one episode?
I think there was 10.
10? Yeah.
I was episode 6, I believe.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And what?
But yeah.
The next year, someone won 250 grand.
Because they didn't do the episodes. I was like, wonderful.
Oh.
I would have been way more competitive if I had known that. But
that's a lot.
At the same time, it's a lot of coin. And Tanner Beard actually ended up winning it. He's a huge filmmaker.
Okay.
He's amazing at what he does.
Yeah.
Cool dude. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy road with just social media and just trying to understand it. Now it's like, now you can't understand the algorithm. Whoever says they does, they're lying.
Yeah.
They just do that what they can.
From a question, just point to you, are you seeing like less growth and like less views at this point in time, right?
Yeah, because it's just so saturated. Same thing with TikTok. Same thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
I tell
yeah,
you one
it's
thing
all the same stuff.
I noticed the other day, and I don't really, I try not to dive too much into it, right? Like in my own personal aspect, like to me, I'm a golf coach, and if I've got time, I'll put some stuff out there, right? But I do like it. I do like it, and I like getting some stuff out there. And don't get me wrong, it's helped me a lot with my online coaching. Obviously, of kind of getting students all around the world, which I've been very lucky to. You know, I think I've done like 10,000 online lessons. But I was going at that is that I noticed the other day I looked at my stories, and I was like, man, my story views are down like exponentially. Like, and I was like, what's going on? So I was like, what's the point of me doing stories anymore? Because the percentage of people watching it are not as high. And I was like, oh, bugger this. I just noticed it. So I'm sorry for anyone watching this. I have lowered the story count down because I'm not going to say the return on investment, but I feel like I like sharing valuable information to you guys, but it just seems to not be reaching as many people as it used to be. You notice that?
Just keep active, man. It's tough, and you got to make it's part of your life. If you show more of what you do and more of a story base,
Yeah.
most people want to follow a story, not just information, but try to make it. And what I've learned is you want to try to make it a story and as authentic to your life and you as a person as you possibly can without showing too much. Obviously, you don't show your kids and your wife and your stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still showing a little bit of that. Oh, this guy's great, you know. Or I mean, he's flawed. He's relatable. Some people look at me like I don't miss shots, and I was like, that's not true. I mean, I literally posted today. I was like, we didn't get this. We didn't plan. Like I wasn't gonna make this shot, but it still was so much fun, regardless if I did make the trick shot or not. And it was for a World Trick Shot Day, but
Yeah.
it's a hard shot with all the wind going on and everything else. So it's still fun to use mechanics and use science and be nerdy and still hit a trick shot that won't take me as long as if I were to be there all day.
Yeah.
Like for me, over 40 minutes, I'm good.
It's not worth it. It's not.
The return is not there anymore.
Yeah. Tell me, for people listening to this, right? Like, there's a lot of coaches that listen to this, Colin. I think, you know, without pumping the tires, it's one of the biggest golf instructional podcasts in the world. People listen to this, right? And it's like I say, golf instruction because there's golf fun ones out there people listen to, entertainment stuff, and lots of coaches listen to this. So people listening to this, and people are in my inbox a bit, like trying to help with social media, like some coaches who I help, and I'm like, oh, I'm not the guy, right? But tell me, like, what advice have you got for someone, you know, who wants to kind of grow on their social media? Do you think finding an identity around something, like, let's look at Joey Mayo, right, who's just been talking about just hitting down on it for 6 months straight, right? Like, he's done 7,000 posts on hitting down on it 12 degrees with a chip shot, and that has worked for him because he's the chipping down guy. AOA increased, you know, we've all learned it.
Make it spin. Yeah.
But he's blowing up deluxe. And I'm going to say that this has not led to your rise. Your rise came through various things, but now you are the golf body type guy, right? I had Tony Ruggiero on this morning. I was like, the juice fever. I'm like, Tony, you're the pivot guy. Love it or like it. Love it or hate it. You're the pivot guy. Do you think having an identity around that, it helps at times as well? Recognition,
being relevant. Now, the fear of every social media person is not being relevant enough, so they have to learn how to pivot. They have to learn how to stay in trend. And if you're older, that's hard to even catch up on a trend, or your agent will be like, listen, this is what's happening right now. You got to do these things. Yeah. You might not want to do them. I don't want to do most of them, and that's why I don't grow as much. That's okay.
Yeah.
I need to start doing more trends. I need to start doing more of that stuff to keep up with it. But I'm coaching, and I'm trying to take what's kind of put a damper on my growth, whether it's on YouTube or anything, has always been an injury for me.
Okay.
The back surgery killed my YouTube. It literally halted it because as soon as I did a collaboration, and this is for anybody that wants to do social media now. That is the word. That is the exact word you want to use, is collaboration. You want to collaborate with other people that have a bigger page than you and Some people, if you have a bigger page, sometimes they will pay you to have a presence and be in your video, but I'm not that person.
Yeah.
So if you want to grow, collaborate. If you're near somebody, go travel to somebody, collaborate, share information. That's what we're doing right here. This is a collaboration.
Yeah.
So it's understanding that the only way to really truly grow now is to, one, have a story, and two, collaborate. You gotta collaborate. If you're just putting out information, people get bored of it. Who's the next word? Who have someone on your channel that we don't know, and then those people come over to you, and then it's just crossfire of more stuff going on. It's and then I would say the third thing: don't let it get to you. And I'm a hypocrite because I do.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist, dude. I let it get to me, and that's that I will say. I do let it get to me a lot because I work on a post really, I get the script right in my head. I get the shot right, and people are like, how many tries? I was like, that one that I chipped in, it was only 3 tries. 3 or 4, I can't remember which one. But the wordage of the first 2, I didn't even like. And if I had made it, I would have been upset because I didn't like it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm glad that the 3rd or 4th one that I did make it in had good verbiage.
Yeah.
So don't be so hard on yourselves. It's a game. We're not perfect, right? And it's a game that's not meant to be perfected anyway.
Yeah.
So post. Don't care about what you post. Gary Vee says this all the time. Don't care about what you post. Post you. Don't be afraid to post stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even for you. Like, let's say, for instance, you find that it might not reach everyone. That's okay as long as it reaches the whole, I would say the environment of golf. It's okay. And if you don't have anything that day, that's okay too.
Yeah. I like it. But the collaboration thing is something that I've noticed. Like, obviously we all have YouTube, right? We all go on YouTube, and every time I turn it on, because you have the recommended page come up, and I just put it on my laptop if I'm making breakfast or whatever's going on, and I see, like, is it Micah Morris or Micah Morris, however you say his name, and him and the other guy from Good Grant. They're constantly and I love that the DOD King. I think he's funny, and they're always hanging out with each other. It's constantly collaboration, constantly 24/7. I don't think they've ever posted a video without each other. It's that's interesting. It's very interesting.
They really need to, because if they see, this is the thing, it gets really cut and dry, and people want to have more than one person on screen. I know they're called we'll just say it's Twin Golf Tour, but they're twins, and I keep telling them, get on the screen at the same time. Get on the screen, hit balls at the same time. It'd be so trippy to watch twins play golf, but they switch, and I'm like, no, get on the screen, both of you. So it's really cool. It's a collaboration the whole time.
Yeah, I like that idea.
It's two twins.
I like that idea. My friend,
it's all about collaborating.
One of my best mates, Kerrod Gray. He's big on YouTube and Instagram, and he just calls me Microsoft 99 because of my editing skills. so but in saying that, right, he has got this following. I don't know if you know Kerrod Gray, but he's got a YouTube channel. He's got like 70,000 subscribers, but he has just gone on tour for 3 years straight, or he's gone up to his 3rd year, sorry, where he's just done collaborations with everyone. You know, Me and My Golf, Chris Mason, Humor. Like, he's got years of videos in the locker ready to upload. He's just done collaborations with everyone. Hasn't stopped. It's interesting. It's probably what he's doing, because he doesn't get in front of the camera at all, only on his short form social media stuff, but in his YouTube, every single thing now is collaborated. When we hang out, it's like, Toby, can we shoot some videos or whatever? But
he's just like, go ahead.
Yeah, he loves it. We'll go out for dinner, and we catch up, I'm going to say half a dozen times a year, because we don't live near each other. We'll travel to tournaments together, like we'll hook up if we've got players playing or whatever, or if we want to go on a holiday together. And I'll be talking to him, because I'm just a golf swing nerd, right? I talk to like my friend Stephen Giuliano about golf swing all the time. Like, I'm talking just golf swing all the time. And I'll say something at dinner and he'll go, hey, what was that again? And he'll get his phone out and write it down. Can we talk about that tomorrow for YouTube? And I'll be like walking down the street and I'll just be like having an ice cream and I'll talk about, you know, pronation of the trail forearm to help me do this or something, just kind of mucking around a little bit. And he'll go, let's talk about this tomorrow. Can we talk about pronation of the trail forearm? So you just put it on YouTube. Let's put it on YouTube. But anyway.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. None of my, one of my really good friends, like that, none of them play golf.
Interesting.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I go out, I don't talk golf.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I'm really comfortable not having to talk about it all the time. And then when I'm with people that talk about it, then I like geeking out. But it's almost like my mind, it gets a rest.
Yeah.
And creative minds need a rest. You know, you're creative. I'm creative. All coaches are creative minds.
I understand that. Yeah. My friends locally to me aren't golfers by all means. You know, my guys at the gym, they got no idea, but never asked me a golf swing question in their time. But when I go out with some, you know, my girlfriends, when we catch up, if we go to, you know, a seminar or an event or something, it's just full golf swing. Man, I went and spoke at the Australian Golf Expo, Colin, and last year, and I'm down there and I was speaking with Grant Field, who is Cam Smith's coach, and I knew it, right? And I had a list in my phone of 5 questions I wanted to ask him as soon as I seen him. And I had him. Man. We went for lunch and we missed the next 2 hours of seminars after lunch. Like we were supposed to go watch. We're not speaking in those ones.
Gotta get your MSRs.
We just spoke golf swing the whole time, right? Yeah, gotta get the points up. But we spoke golf swing the whole time. And I had like a list of things straight away for him. Like I was like, 1, have you had Cam Smith on hack motion when he putts? Like I want to know how his putter blade stays so low to the ground. You know, and I was like, 2, how do your players present such good, you know, face when they chip? Like they're all so consistent with their short game. Like all his players got the best short game. So I'm just constantly, and after about 2 hours, I touched him on the back, Colin, and I said, you can go if you want. And he goes, I'd rather stay here and talk with you. Oh, okay, great. Let's keep going. I got more questions.
That's great, man. That's awesome. It's just, it's soaking up that kind of thing that's, I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day long. You know? And same thing, like if there's anybody listening who's a coach, reach out and just make sure you ask my cadence. Cause I've had some situations where I'll respond like right away and people think I'm being short with them or, I have some kind of attitude. Like I am very neutral. I don't have any strong willed about information. There's a lot of stuff out there that a lot of it's possible, right? Mm-hmm. We're looking for the plausible and we're looking for the possible. That's what we're looking for any of our students. Yep. And if you want to talk, just ask me a question. Like talk to me, and I'll probably respond with a voice recording because the way I text sometimes, I come off not the way I wish I did.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very quick, and then on to the next DM or whatever. So
yeah,
just reach out and ask me my cadence.
Yes.
I'm very much like this all the time. I'm just super chill.
I love that. It's very kind of you, people listening. So if you want to learn about body type or you want to ask Colin some questions in regards to social media, he's your guy. But it's interesting when you talk about that sounding a bit short because at times I will write back when I probably shouldn't have written back. Like I'll be in the coffee shop getting a cup of coffee and I'll be like, the inbox is full, right? I'll be like next in line and I go, oh, fuck, they're about to ask me a question. Send. And I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have sent that because it's kind of like you're being reactive. You know what I mean? Like too reactive.
Yeah, you're not thinking, yeah.
And I go, oh, I didn't give that. So I at times I've got a rule in place where I just don't have social media on my phone. That I have a couple of phones, one that stays in here, but I don't take my phone with social media out of the house because I get into too many bad habits. So I come back in here, like into my office, and I'll text people just like it's talking to a student, just so it's kind of a little bit kinder.
Yeah, how do you handle the text to email to WhatsApp to Instagram? Like, what do you? Because right now, I want to try and get everybody, and it's hard to do.
You got a lot,
especially if you got a lot of students. Yeah, you got a lot of outreach.
You've got I'm going to use the word pigeonholed, but I'm all on Skillist. So I have my Instagram account, which is @tmgolf_, but everything else my assistant does. So she does my YouTube, my podcast, the podcast channel. So she does all of that stuff, and she has her own email address. But anything that comes to me for online communication, like lessons,
I need one of those.
you've got to get one. She's fantastic. Is through TM Golf Instagram, or it's via the Skillist app. So I see that you do a lot of stuff, like FaceTimes and the email. I do see that, and I think that is a lot of book work. But one thing I think is a good thing is, do you have that Business Suite app downloaded? The Business Suite thing has kind of got all your...
Hootsuite?
No, it's Business Suite. I just saw something come up on my iPad now, actually, which got my questions for you. Like, it's got... I'll just show you through people listening. It's like an inbox, right? But it's got all your social channels inboxes in the one inbox.
Yeah.
So you don't have to kind of log into YouTube to see the comments, or log on to Facebook, or log on to Instagram. It just all comes through there. So what I like about it is I don't have to have the Instagram app to see the messages, because you know what happens? We open Instagram and have a look at a message, Colin, and 3 hours later...
Scroll. Oh, dude, I knew it was coming. You're like, oh, scroll. Oh, that's funny. Share it to my girlfriend, or to your wife, or to your kid, or something. And you're like, ha ha ha. Like, but then you're like,
mate, I go down,
and I'm like, oh.
Tell my wife I want to put the kids to bed. I'm just going to go down and reply to some messages. 4 hours later, come up. Whoa. I'm hopeless. My discipline is terrible. Hence why I don't take my social media phone out. Hey, but Colin, we're getting...
I call myself, my girlfriend calls me a workaholic, but I call myself an opportunist.
Interesting.
And if I see a DM or I see someone asking a question, it's an opportunity for me to learn something by answering their question.
Yeah, I like it. That's really cool. That's a good way of going about it.
But I kill myself, so I need to...
Yeah.
It's just part of the battle of being passionate about what you do. You have to give yourself limits, because passion has occasional insanity.
It does. I think that's exactly right. I like it. Hey, Colin, you've been great. Mate, I appreciate you coming on. I really do appreciate you coming on. People want to reach you. Man. Your links are down below. I'll put all that down below, the people to come find you. And if you've got any questions for Colin, please reach out. If you enjoyed the podcast, let him know that you liked it. It's good to let the guests know that you enjoyed them coming on. And, mate, I hope you have a good week, and I hope the back gets better for you, my friend.
Yeah. It's I'm hiring a team. Just like you have an assistant, which I need one too.
Yes.
It's probably why I'm going to work out more.
I'll talk to you about that after.
Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on. And anybody out there listening, reach out.
Great. All right. Thanks, Colin. Take care, man.
You too.